Let's talk about why Call of Duty should be afraid of Battlefield again this year. Now, a year ago, this would have been crazy talk. Modern Warfare was doing fantastic. Battlefield had drifted off. Those fans had gone over to Call of Duty. But now Call of Duty is kind of a mess after the Cold War integration. And to make matters even more interesting, DICE LA is probably involved in the next Battlefield game, which is headed up by Vince Zampella, who founded Call of Duty. I'm here joined by Richie Bracamonte, and we're going to talk over what could be happening this year with the two franchises, who's probably developing them, and why Call of Duty really should be concerned again. As always, if you guys love to talk about Call of Duty like we do, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All right, Richie, so what do we know so far about later this year?
Aaron, it's rumored so far that Sledgehammer Games will take on Call of Duty 2021. They're also, according to some reports, they were supposed to take on the game for 2020, but Treyarch ended up doing that, and we all think it's because of the success of the Modern Warfare reboot. After that happened and did so well, they probably wanted to see the success of the Black Ops revival happen, so they put Treyarch in the driver's seat, and we got Cold War this year. So for Sledgehammer, it sounds like it's their turn in the cycle. They got kicked off last time, and now it's their time to shine.
So why would that be exciting if Sledgehammer is the studio that takes over the next Call of Duty game?
It's exciting because, well, for me personally, I can speak to that because I like all the games they've worked on. They got their start with helping out with Modern Warfare 3. Then they went on to do Advanced Warfare and then World War II. So their track record is pretty short, but it's growing and it's a solid track record so far. So myself and I know of quite a few others who are excited to see them take the director's chair and make Call of Duty 2021 for this year. Okay,
so that's why you're hopeful about if Sledgehammer Games heads to the next Call of Duty. What are some of the pitfalls and disasters we've seen recently that might allow Battlefield to, take back their fans from this franchise?
Right, we've definitely talked about the integration of Cold War and Warzone put together, how they're scooting away Modern Warfare. We all know that. Although that's getting better, and the gun meta, which is really crucial, is finally ironing out a lot of things. They're doing things right, but Cold War, the overall reception, as far as I can tell in multiplayer, with the exception of zombies, is a little dry. A lot of people, including some of our user comments, talk about how they just dropped off the game. It's feeling pretty samey, and even though there are some upgrades coming up, some updates with Season 2, that might pull people back, but for the most part, a lot of people are falling off of Cold War a lot faster than Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone. So that brings us to Battlefield. Aaron, what are you hopeful for this new announcement, this 2021 Battlefield?
So there's two really important things to talk about here. One of them is the studio that's making it, and one of them is, and I think, one of the more important things to tackle first is why fans fell off of Battlefield in the first place. Battlefield, for a very long time, like Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, all those games were this just beautiful sandbox, and there was so much freedom to it, and players could break it, like when they made the MAV elevators, or they were just running around screwing around with the EOD robot. The thing is that starting around Battlefield 3, DICE went in a very heavy, visually appealing direction. They wanted to make the game look better, but it was at the expense of a lot of the freedom of the game that people loved. It was a combination of that, Battlefield 4 just started to feel a little bit too much like Battlefield 3, but then also they started going in this infantry-focused direction, and, they went retro, and after a while, it just sort of felt like it was an infantry game. There were vehicle maps, but not nearly as many vehicle maps. So Call of Duty just does infantry warfare better. And I think people started falling off it at that point. The retro theme also handicapped them with things like customization. There's just way less customization when you're talking about World War I and World War II. It's just kind of unfortunately part of the package that you signed up for. That brings us to the game that might be coming out later this year. They're targeting late 2021. And we'll just call it Battlefield 6. So I would be shocked if they don't turn back to a modern setting. They kind of have to. They've played out the older settings at this point. And it's being developed by DICE LA. Now, DICE LA handled a lot of their test servers, and to be just completely crude about it, they're the studio that fixed Battlefield 4. So they learned from their mistakes about what was wrong with Battlefield 4, both technically and also level design. They've also, helped with a couple of DLCs. DICE LA right now is being led by Vince Zampella. I want to say that we don't know for sure that Vince is directly involved with the making of the next Battlefield game, but Vince essentially co-founded Call of Duty, and what he is really, really good at are honing gameplay mechanics until they're perfect. He's the guy that did Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2, which were just absolutely sublime shooter games. Does that mean you're going to get, Call of Duty in your Battlefield? I don't think so. Like, again, assuming he's involved, he's a guy who's really good at looking at what makes a game good. For example, looking at the Dark Souls mechanics and how he could apply that to the Star Wars universe and Jedi Fallen Order. So what he can offer is the basics, which is something that Battlefield was always really terrible at. Battlefield had an incredible sandbox, but they were terrible at things like progression, vehicle controls, or just sort of like the way the game generally played when you weren't actually shooting. Even just to switch your loadouts between games, you had to go to a web browser to do it. I mean, we're talking about like really stuff way behind for what it should have been. So Vince Zampella is really good at that stuff. And even if he's not directly involved in the day-to-day making this game, even if it's just running through him, I don't think he would let that stuff, pass. So I am really excited for this next Battlefield game. That being said, Modern Warfare is languishing because Activision really neglected it. They made this hard switch to Cold War. Cold War was probably being developed at the same time through no fault of their own, and they, I'm speculating, but they probably didn't realize what they had in Modern Warfare. So it's not entirely Cold War's fault. But also, they just recently dropped a Season 2 trailer, and it looks like they've kind of recognized that they are not going to capitalize on that milsim crowd that loved Battlefield and that loved Modern Warfare. They seem to be going full zombies this time around, which, to their credit, is what they're good at. But I just don't see that pulling the Battlefield crowd back in, and I feel like that really leaves an opening for another Battlefield game to come in again and really take that crowd that got pulled away by Modern Warfare.
That's a really good point, and something I hadn't really considered. Treyarch and the Black Ops games start off pretty humble, but they get pretty fantastical fast. Like, you think of the way Black Ops 4 ended. There was some fun skins. They got goofy kind of quick, as they always do. So you're right about the whole milsim thing and the whole Modern Warfare 2019 vibe. If they want that, there's a window open now.
Yeah, Call of Duty has just broken off and sailed in another direction this season. I mean, come on, there were dragons in the trailer. Why the F not?
Why not? Already Season 2, let's go. I mean, it looked fun, but you're definitely right about that point of how DICE has an opportunity here to kind of just scale it down a little bit. So for this part of the video, we're going to take a look back at some of the user comments you guys left, whether it's excitement for Battlefield 6, or if you want to just talk some Call of Duty, we're here. Let's check it out.
In the biggest Battlefield 6 rumors video, questionable content said, playing Call of Duty just makes me miss the age of great Battlefield games. The Destruction and Bad Company games are more than spectacle, they could be tactical. Yeah, that's a great point. And Bad Company is also a good comparison to Call of Duty because it's the most sort of destruction-oriented, but also console-oriented game that Battlefield ever makes. So I think a lot of us miss Bad Company and would love to head back in that direction.
I always thought it was funny that Call of Duty tried this out in Ghosts. They had small destructible set pieces, but I was talking about this with Jake Decker, our very own Jake, and he said, they just sort of would blow up, and then that was the end of that. It wasn't tactical at all, as much as it was cinematic in multiplayer, which was kind of weird.
All right, our next user, Flammadiddle. I'm getting so bored of Cold War. 7 days in, and I just can't take it anymore. I need new. Yes.
I feel that. As much as I liked it at the launch, so this is one of those Call of Duties for me personally, where I play for, few matches, see a specific map, and I'm like, okay, I'm done for the night. Like that happens in every Call of Duty game, but I feel like it happens later in the year. So for Cold War, it's a handful of maps where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm done playing for the day. And that's not a good sign. They're adding more and more maps, but it's just a weird vibe to have so early in the year.
It's also really important to point out that Cold War is just a different audience. It's a more classic audience. And I don't want to rag on that game other than from like a Battlefield perspective, because there are people who don't want the Modern Warfare game. They want Cold War. Cold War is that game that they've always wanted. So like, you guys are awesome. It's a good game for you. And we're just talking about this from a, pretty specific perspective.
So from our Nobody is Happy with Call of Duty video, we got a comment from Don Dodo who says, everyone is unhappy about their games. What can you do to fix it? Activision, we will make a new COD. And that's really true, because no matter what, you can't stop this train. Like, they're making one every year. We even had a poll on our Facebook and Twitter about how it should be handled. Like, should they break the yearly cycle? Should they really focus on all the problems that are currently going on? Or should they just keep going every year? And for the most part, our audience on Twitter said we should break the yearly cycle. Like, give developers time to breathe and come up with not such a strict deadline. Come up with more ideas that can be polished out, which I think is probably the most important thing. We've seen how unpolished things have tanked Call of Duty sometimes, but it always comes back, and it's always here for another year, for better or worse. Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, pump the brakes. Modern Warfare felt more like a platform, like a Fortnite or something like that they could have just kept building on. And they will. Like, they are going to keep building on it. They broke off Warzone, which I'm never going to fully acknowledge isn't Modern Warfare. It's totally Modern Warfare. But they're going to keep developing that game. They don't need a Call of Duty every year anymore. I think a lot of people feel that way. They just keep building on what you got. It's a great foundation, and you won't run into these odd situations too, where you have Call of Duty on another engine trying to cram itself onto like a more modern engine. It's awkward.
Since a Call of Duty comes out every year, it's prone to more of these weird problems like cross-gen and stuff. So that's something I haven't even considered. It's a good point. I personally would like to see them pump the brakes also and just give these developers more time. I think, when fans are starting to be like, I'm burned out on Call of Duty every year, like an iPhone, we don't get every iPhone, and not all of us play every Call of Duty. So let's give them a break.
And our next comment speaks to that. License to Chill, great name, by the way, said Cold War just feels old. It's a step back for the franchise in every way. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of comes back to, I don't think it was their fault. I think they were developed at the same time, but Modern Warfare just had a better engine.
It is. It's when you're playing Cold War, even for the casual player, you can detect like a big difference in gameplay. And you're right. It's the engine. It's something that Modern Warfare spent like the whole year perfecting. It was a good launch out the gate, but that game only got better in my opinion. Cold War did feel like a step back, unfortunately.
All right, so this is going to be a good year for shooter fans regardless. I do think that Call of Duty should be concerned about where Battlefield is headed, but regardless, if you're an old school Call of Duty fan, you have Cold War. If you got sick of that, you either have a new Call of Duty game this year or you have Battlefield to fall back on. We're going to learn a lot more about both of these games probably fairly soon. So again, Battlefield in spring and classically Call of Duty in May or April.
So what are you guys most excited for? Battlefield 6? More Call of Duty? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our Call of Duty playlist. We have more chats like this, along with other videos about guns, perks, maps, and more. Thanks for watching.